Big Sales! Hold on here for a second here. I gotta tell your guy, Merrill Reese. What a great guy. By the way, 4:30 today, Merrill Reese is going to step in with us, and we're going to talk with him. You know what he said? He said this. He would like to see Jason Kelce retire. He would like Jason Kelce to retire. I want to know why. So we'll talk to our friend, Merrill Reese. That'll be at 4:30. Appreciate all of you coming aboard here. Thank you very much. All-Star weekends. Let me say this to you. The only All-Star game that matters any longer, the only All-Star game that was ever good was the Major League Baseball All-Star game. And also the slam dunk contest. You got to just get rid of this whole thing and do something different. I mean, the celebrity basketball game was more competitive than that thing they put on last night. I mean, you do a disservice to your sport when you see players not giving a shit or half-ass efforts. I mean, and I heard the guys talking before us. I went like this. You know, do you play it after or during the finals? Do you have like a game where you play it in between one of the off days and you kind of have a celebration on the side? I don't know. I don't. Because something like that, I don't think you can fix. I think that's just, you can't fix it because no one gives a shit. So if you don't care, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. Baseball's all-star game is probably still the best. It's always been the best. But, you know, and this has been a culture thing. And Tone said it right earlier. Yeah, the younger players look at the older guys going, I don't give a shit either. They don't give a shit. Why should I give a shit? And what you do is you built up over the last 20 years, you've built up an angst for playing in the game. You got incentives in your contract. If you make the all-star game, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and spend a lot of time on it. All I'm saying is it's like a wasted weekend. You know, the NFL plays touch football. That thing got more ratings, I guarantee you, than that game did last night. Probably 3 times as much ratings. NFL got away from the all-star game, too. They're not going to put their players in a Pro Bowl setting where they could get injured. It's just not going to happen. I mean, the Pro Bowl sucked for about 20 years. It did. I mean, back in the day, you needed the money. Now, I think it's got a lot to do with that. These guys don't need the chicken shit money they get for playing in the game. These guys make $30 million a year, the guys who make it to the All-Star game. Some make 50. Why would I play in a game that doesn't matter? I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I'm not playing in a game that doesn't matter. This doesn't make any sense to me. Like I said, Merrill Reese will join us. That'll be at 4:30. All right. This is getting into now the business side of football. And we're now getting into the calendar part of the schedule for the NFL that you have some pretty tough decisions to make. But before I do that, I have to hit on Chris Sims. I'll get into the business end of it here in a minute. Let me address Chris Sims' comments on Jalen Hurts. And I'm not going to go all in on it. I'm just going to say he basically said he's overrated. And anything he says, because a little bit of the comment was a backhanded slap. Then, of course, he went into saying he was overrated. Or he went in first and said he's overrated, then a couple backhanded slaps on his talent. He works hard, all the bullshit stuff to kind of like soften the punch. Why did Sims do it? Some of it is true. Most of it is for reaction. And you have to kind of dissect it. Not all of it is false. Okay? First, let's get into why he did it. Philly reaction. The Philadelphia Eagle fans they're going to react. Should have heard Tone going in on him. Holy cow. Sims sucked as an NFL guy, and he doesn't do that. Sims sucked here. Sims sucked there. This guy didn't do shit in his career. He's not wrong. But that's a fan, and he is a fan protecting his guy. Hey, I could be critical of Jalen Hurts. This is Tone. But Sims talking like that? Taking a shot at my guy. Hurts season, baby. So I get it. It's reaction. And many people have to validate their takes instead of just admitting it. You see, some of you in here, and this is where LJ and I go back and forth. LJ likes Sims's take. That's what LJ, tell me if I'm wrong, LJ. I don't want to speak for you here. But LJ doesn't want Sims to change his opinion. Who doesn't want him to change his opinion? Like if Hurts plays well, LJ would want Sims to say he still sucks. Right, LJ? Or if Jalen plays better, he doesn't want to give him his kudos. Is that right? Okay. So no matter what Jalen Hurts does, he sucks and should stick to saying he sucks. Okay? Like this year, I didn't think he played well. Last year, he was great. You shouldn't say that. You should just say he sucks. See, me on the other hand, guy plays well, you give him his flowers. Guy plays poorly, you give him his booze. That's how I look at it. Okay? That's how I look at it. So, I kind of, is Jalen wrong? I think Jalen, is Sims wrong about him being overrated? No. For me personally, acknowledging a bad season is one thing. To say he's overrated, the guy in the game is just click. It is, Tone. It is. What he should have said, they paid him too soon. I like to have seen the guy put a couple of years together where you could say the guy's really got something going here. Because let's be candid here. We've seen 3 different seasons from Jalen Hurts. You can't definitively say that this guy is a consistent quarterback. There's nothing consistent that he's done in his NFL career yet. Nothing. See, the way he put it out there, it was clickbait. But what he's saying, in my eyes, how I look at it, Jalen Hurts has given you 3 different seasons. And no one's talking about his hunger for the game, his smarts for the game, his ability. The facts are, has he not given you 3 different seasons? There's nothing consistent about his career yet. Nothing. Mahomes gives you consistency. Okay? That's a consistent career. To some aspects, I think we're seeing some consistency out of Josh Allen. He's won 4 straight AFC East titles. He's got to go through a gauntlet of some of the best quarterbacks. Hey, throws for a lot of yards, turns the ball over a lot, throws for a lot of touchdowns. That's who he is, and spend kind of what you're going to get these next couple of years. Jalen, I'm not sure. Hey, is Dak consistent? Kind of. LJ goes down year. Okay, LJ, down year? Yes. But he hasn't put 2 years together yet where you can call him a consistent ball player yet. So I kind of got what he was doing. He just went about it the wrong way. Is Jalen Hurts overrated? No. No, he's not overrated. Okay, he's not. Overrated is Zach Wilson. That's overrated. Overhyped, I think, is the difference. Might be Trevor Lawrence. Might be Trevor. Overhyped could be Brock Purdy. Hey, I got to see something I want to see another year out of Purdy. Hey, I think half of last year, this year, I think he's well on his way. But do I have to see another year out of Brock Purdy before I'm going to pay him $50 million? You bet your ass. Absolutely. The one thing about Hurts that's consistent, he keeps you in the playoffs. Okay. Fair enough. Right? Like Allen, keeps you in the playoffs. Okay. So does Brock Purdy. 2 years. I mean, like I said, he's 5-2 in the postseason is Brock Purdy. He's done just as much as Jalen. Just as much. With better offensive numbers. Okay? Just as much. When I look at Brock, do I see Jalen? It's not how you drive. It's kind of how you arrive. Two different ways of getting to the same destination. It's just how differently, but they're kind of the same guy. Their careers are parallel with one another. Not thought of much coming out of college when it came to being a high pick. Jalen's a high pick. Is he a first rounder? No. Purdy's not a high pick. Is Purdy overachieving? Oh, yes. Is Jalen? Yes. Yes. That first round designation and that distinction that you get when you're a first rounder goes a long way when it comes up to your career timeline. You get extra time if you're a first rounder than you do if you're a second or a seventh. You get extra time. I guarantee you, if Brock Purdy falls back next year, San Francisco will be debating whether or not to pay him and keep him. If Brock Purdy was a first rounder, that conversation would not be there because they invested the resources. They invested a first round pick. Okay? They do. Purdy's America's sweetheart. I think they like the fact that he's a overachiever. Sure. Okay? Sills, guess who's been helping the Lions with drafts since 2021? John Dorsey. Hire him as the Eagles GM. That does not surprise me. John Dorsey's the guy that found and was the guy that went and saw Mahomes and took him over Deshaun Watson. Everyone wanted Deshaun Watson in Kansas City. Everyone did. Dorsey even traded up to get him. That wasn't an Andy Reid move. Andy Reid did not draft Patrick Mahomes. John Dorsey did. John Dorsey also built the Browns. Much of the talent you see that's in Cleveland, Dorsey did that too. Okay? If Hurts was drafted in the 7th round, would he get the grace Purdy gets? No, he's black. No. No. No, he would not. Hate to put it that bluntly, but I'm right. Yeah, John Dorsey is a brilliant talent evaluator. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry, Maxon. Can't handle the truth, huh? Okay. No topic about racism today. I just answered a question. Wait, are you under the impression that black athletes and black quarterbacks get the same latitude that white quarterbacks do, especially ones that are drafted in latter rounds? It was a question. Answered. Move on. You don't like it? Uncomfortable? Great. That's what we do here. You're uncomfortable? I love it. We answer hard questions here. Okay? We don't skate over topics. We never do. Never have. Okay? Racism isn't a topic. Racism is part of our culture. So It's part of everything. Class system, poor, rich, all of that. Sad thing is, Dorsey was in our building. Howie exiled him. Is that right? John Dorsey was in Philly? Sills, what do you think Jalen's ceiling is? I'm going to write that down before I get to our main topic here. So the thing with Sims, Hurts' ceiling. Okay? John Dorsey was in the Eagle building? When was this? Sills, John Dorsey in charge of Eagle drafting, how he handles the books. I would love that. That, in my opinion, is the perfect scenario. John Dorsey was in the building, really? Dorsey was in Philly in 2020 as a front office consultant. No way in the world. No way in the world. When Howie Roseman got back into power, he was going to have John Dorsey in the building. Dorsey's bedside manner is not the best. Okay? Hey, same year Hurts was drafted, I guarantee you he put an evaluation. I wonder if John Dorsey did the homework on Hurts for them to draft him, and Howie once again taking credit for something that he really didn't do, like the 17 Super Bowl. Okay? John Dorsey's brilliant. He runs circles around, totally runs circles around Howie when it came to talent evaluation. Just runs circles around him. Now here, get this. You know why Andy got rid of him? Why do you think Andy got rid of John Dorsey in Kansas City? To bring in Brett Veach or elevate Brett Veach. Why do you think that is? So they could take credit for Mahomes. John Dorsey drafted Mahomes. Chris Carter, Shannon Sharp, everybody at ESPN went like this: Deshaun Watson will win titles before Patrick Mahomes will ever think about it. I posted a video of it, of all those guys saying that. Mahomes will never win. He's too reckless. He's undisciplined. He doesn't have the characteristics to be a superstar player. That was Shannon Sharp. And you know what John Dorsey said? I disagree. I think he has all the intangibles to be a phenomenal player in this league, and I think he's going to win us multiple championships. It's on my Twitter page, at Dan Sileo Show. He disagreed completely with everybody. He was on an island. I wonder if Reed was even on an island. He said, got to draft this guy. Well, they must have, because they moved up. They moved up to get him, so they must have all agreed at the end. Okay? If you had a guy like John Dorsey in your building, boy, man, would that help the Eagles? Then I would feel comfortable giving the draft picks to Howie. Hey, you know what? You know what? If you're John, you should just tell Howie, hey, you want to take the credit? Just put me in the building. The problem you have with John has a way of looking at players, and the analytics guy are now getting in the way. See, John drafts people in here. There's something about this guy. There's something about Tyreek Hill. What college did Tyreek Hill go to? I don't remember him in college. Does anybody know? John Dorsey drafted him. Does anybody know what college he went to? Tyreek Hill? It's a John Dorsey guy. Okay? He's a Michigan. He went to Michigan? West Alabama. Howie Roseman ain't drafting anybody out of West Alabama unless they live in Western Alabama but went to Alabama. West Alabama? Where's that? I mean, I don't even think that's an HBCU school. I think Alabama State, if I'm not mistaken, is Alabama A&M, I think it is. I think Alabama A&M is HBCU. Man, it's another Dorsey guy. So, hey, Andy Reid drafted Travis Kelce? I don't think so. John Dorsey drafted him. Now, there's a history with Jason in Philly. He probably had a lot more to do with that, for sure. Chris Jones, John Dorsey. Honey Badger, John Dorsey. All them guys. Knew the talent. Okay? Hey, Senor, why? It's a great question. Why has John Dorsey been let go from so many NFL teams? Because you know why? He fights the analytics department that try to tell him what player and the analytics that a player has that fit a system that they're trying to implement. And he's just an old school guy that doesn't believe the analytics people should be involved in player personnel. And that's why he gets fired. Like here, get this. The analytics people in Cleveland, my friend Alonzo Highsmith was in Cleveland. They hated Myles Garrett. They didn't want anything to do with Myles Garrett when he was at A&M. You know why? Myles Garrett said, I liked football. I like it. I'm not in love with it. And they had a cow with it. You know what John Dorsey said? Well, I'll take his like because his like is as good as anybody in the league. And I'll take his like. So he drafted him. Okay? He drafted him. Because the player says something doesn't mean you go by his actions, not what he says. Before we get into the main topic, I think this is a topic nobody's been bringing up, and we're going to bring it up. I kind of broached it here with Tone here for a second, but we'll do it again. We're going to do it here in a minute. I was asked a question a couple minutes ago about Jalen Hurts' ceiling. Here's my take on Jalen Hurts' ceiling. And I'm not going to put any player in comparison to it because I don't know what he's going to look like. Jalen Hurts' ceiling from 2022. This is a prediction now. This is a prediction. Here's my take on Hurts. 2022 Jalen Hurts, probably 10 years. 3 Super Bowl appearances, maybe a win, and he's out of the league like Aikman with an injury. Probably in 11 or 12, something like that. Jalen Hurts, 2013, 14 years. Never get back to the Super Bowl. Competitive, go to the playoffs. Have a career that kind of resembles McNabb a little. Like that. Maybe an NFC title game. And he'll have, in today's NFL, decent passing numbers. The 22 one, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 10, 11-year career. Have a year in there where he could fight for the MVP again. The 23 Hurts, 14, 15 years maybe. Some sporadically good years. Other than that, never get back to the Super Bowl. Bunch of playoff games. Have a losing record in the postseason as a quarterback. He has one now. Something like that. That's how I see it. That's what I think his ceiling is. And you ask me, well, wait, you gave me 2 different Hurtses. Well, yeah, I've seen 2 different Hurtses. I actually have seen 3 different Hurtses. I don't know what I'm going to see yet. This year coming up here, his 4th year starting, surely I hope it defines who he is because we still don't know. You paid for a guy you don't know what he is yet or what you want him to be, which is insane. You paid a guy $50 million. Now, again, the cap hits, as we've been saying, are not catastrophic to the team. They're just not. shit, your corner and your edge rusher are more devastating to your cap than the quarterback. So you're all right paying it if you're okay paying it. I don't believe the owners want to pay that kind of money for. I mean, if Jeffrey Lurie was asked the question, did you get your $50 million worth this year? He'd absolutely say no way. If Kellen Moore, LJ says, can't fix this offense, then no one can. Well, I'll tell you, LJ, I don't think he really did a great job when Justin Herbert was healthy. I don't think – and quite frankly, when he was the offensive coordinator in Dallas, Dak Prescott led the NFL in INTs. What has he done in the last 2 years that makes you think he's going to turn Hurts around as a coordinator? Can you tell me? Why is everybody so gung-ho that Kellen Moore is going to fix this when his last 2 years as a coordinator have been failures when it comes to the position that he coaches? Dak led the NFL in turnovers, and last year that team was a train wreck. Tell me. It's like a lot of optimism, and in the last 2 years, he hasn't had a lot of success. Okay, let's get to the main topic here. The Philadelphia Eagles have a pretty big decision coming up to make. And you tell me what you would do. They have to decide by May 2nd if they are picking up DeVonta Smith's fifth-year option, which would be a payment of $15 million for 2025. Or do you extend him now and offer him a contract extension? What do you do? And that would mean that if you give him an extension, you're going to be paying an essence of $100 million between three players. What do you do? I don't believe he can be tagged because he's not a free agent. I don't believe that. He's eligible for an extension because they have to decide by May 2nd if they're going to exercise the fifth year. That would mean $15 million they would pay him next year. What do they do? What would you do if you're the Philadelphia Eagles? I went back and forth on this too. I did. I went back and forth on this because there's too much money that's out there right now that you have to negotiate with other players. DeVonta, because here's what you have next year. You have Landon Dickerson to deal with and Jordan Mailata, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tone. You have two players that you got to pay in excess of $20 million next year. You don't want to do three players of $20 million, do you? What do you do? And this is why I say A.J. Brown's $25 million. Hassan Reddick's 15. He wants 25. Your two corners are killing you. They're like a stranglehold. Okay? What do you do? Because at the end of next year, in the offseason, you'll have to extend them. And that money will be in the $25 to $30 million range. How many people think that when this year and then the fifth-year option, okay, when DeVonta goes into that fifth-year option, he's going to command $25 million. There's just no getting around it with the cap. I thought the cap was going to be around 239. It's going to be around 243. So that means it's growing at 19.5 now instead of 18.1. That means the economics are getting bigger. And the money and the payoff from the TV networks are getting bigger. That's fantastic for the players. Gives a little more latitude to the Eagles, too, because they'll have a little more cap room now. Instead of $20 million, $23 million, you're looking at $26 million. That's great. You're going to need it. Okay? If I extend him today, I'm trading Reddick tomorrow. I can't do it. I got too much money that's coming up. You got Hurts's contract kicking in. You got a $25 million nut over with AJ. You're paying $15 million to Goddard, $12 million to Goddard. Both your offensive tackles are making in excess of $16 million. I think Lane is making like $18 million. Then you got Landon. Then you got Jason Kelce at 10. That's a lot of money. And it's all on the offensive side. When are you going to address your defense? So maybe you extend him and you pick up the fifth-year option. I mean, you've got to fix that. If you don't fix that defense, it won't matter what you do offensively. You could have Jalen Hurts can have an MVP type season. If you don't fix that defense, you're 8-9. You're losing to, hey, if you were beating teams and beating them 33-31, and your quarterback was able to overcome the deficiencies on defense, I'd be saying this, well, Jalen will carry the team across the finish line. He's shown it. Well, after the 1-7 finish, he couldn't overcome it. Now, bad coaching, absolutely played into it. Bad situational, all of that we know. We don't have to go back over that again. We've gone over it ad nauseum. Okay? MG goes, keep Reddick and don't extend him. Okay? So you want to pick up the fifth-year option then. It's going to cost you money. This is going to cost, hey, when you give him that extension, you have to give him a signing bonus. If you extend him, you pick the fifth-year option up, you don't. You need money. They should just cut all dead weight draft. Excellent. And next year we have 50+ million with cap space. The dead weight is your corners. How we will never prioritize defense. We have no money to buy quality players. He's just going to continue drafting O-line and missing on third-round linebackers, undrafted corners. Xavier, that's the MO. Maddox and Byard are gone. Bradbury will be back. Only positive with him is that he usually follows a bad season with a good one. That's a true case. That's true. Had a shitty year in New York, came back, had a great year last year, got the bag of money, had a down year this past season. It's true. You're counting on something like that, though, LJ. You know, I'm not sure that's a plan. You're kind of hoping for wishful thinking a little bit there. Okay? John goes, what's in the cup? So what do you think? It's a rum and Coke? No, it's just a Coke, dude. Yeah. Hey, I'm drinking rum and Coke. No, it's not happening. Reddick will be gone. Slay and Bradbury can come off the books. That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to get rid of both Reddick and Bradbury if I could. Okay, maybe get rid of Bradbury by picking up some of his contract and sending him someplace and doing it on a trade, getting a latter round pick for him. But just get him out of there. Get a pick. And so you could put a younger player there and a cheaper player. You know how you can compensate for losing one of your corners? Draft a corner and move him. Somehow move Bradbury. Hey, I'll tell you what, I'll pick up half the contract. Team might be open to do that. Pick up half the contract. You know, you got to get rid of one of those guys. And I think you got to You know what? You know what? I heard Rob say Reddick's your, or somebody I think on First Take, I heard him say Reddick's your best player. It didn't matter. And I don't think he is. That's not what the market value is. People say that Sweat's the best player on your defense. You don't go by opinion. You go by what people will pay. Now, is that guy going to get $25 million in the open market? I would not pay that for him. I just would not. And I think that's why the Eagles said, go ahead, go take a look. I'm not the only one saying that. The Eagles are also saying that. The Eagles are saying, I don't think you're a $20 million guy. Go see if you are. We'd like to know too. Maybe that changes the Eagles' opinion on him. Because guess what it does? Do you not agree? One of the things that I think they make a critical mistake on a lot of times is overvaluing their own players. He's not really one of their own. I don't believe if Howie had drafted him, he'd put him on the open market. But because he was a rental and a mercenary, he wants to know what the value. I don't blame him for doing this. It's like putting your house on the market. Let's see what you have no intention of selling it, but you want to see what the value is. You want to see what the market says. Do they want to buy it? Do they not want to buy it? What do they offer? If you got 70 people wanting to buy your house and you put the house on the market for a week, you know you got a strong market and people will pay more. So you pull it back off the market and you post it when you want to do it. I think that's exactly what they're going to do with Reddick. They're going to treat him like real estate here. They're looking at him like, hey, what do you think this kid's true value is? And to me, I think he's probably right where he is. I think he's a $15 million guy. I'm not paying him any more than that. I'm not paying him any more. Now, if I had more of a stouter defense, I probably would. I probably would pay him 18. And has he outperformed his contract? How many people think he's outperformed his contract? In what? Tackles and the way he covers? Or just in sacks alone? Like, get this. If he has one significant injury, his season's over. Because if he can't get around the corner and pass rush, he's useless. Like, look how useless he was with a hand injury earlier in the year. Because of what Tone talks about, his unique size doesn't give him the affordability of overcoming deficiencies he has in his makeup and how he's built in stature. When you're 6'5", and you got a cast on your hand, just get up, put your hands up. You're still an issue out there. Even if you're not getting around the corner and you can't grab and pull, you're still 6'5". Big guys beat up little guys every day in the NFL. That's a fact. Little guys don't win in that game. I think Sweat is mid-level, not elite. Brian, Josh Sweat has a market value of $21 million. Reddick has a market of 15. Reddick put up 30 sacks in 37 games as an Eagle. That's fantastic. It is. Now, if you could pass rush every down, he's a force. But if you get into ball games where teams are running the ball on you, he's a non-factor. And what did teams do this year? They beat you on first and third down. The Eagle defense was the worst on first and third down when it came to first downs. And the guy had a bunch of sacks. Hassan Reddick was like the Kirk Cousins of pass rushers. Completely no impact whatsoever in a 1-7 slide. No impact. And when you're playing from behind, you're going to get more pass rush opportunities. I thought he was a force in 22. Because Gannon, I'll tell you this, man, Gannon used them right. He did. He did. After they figured out, and this is the guy that I was ripping early in the year until Gannon said, no, you know what? And if you notice, once they got Linval Joseph and once they got Adama Sue and they started stopping the run, what happened? He became better than Michael Parsons pass rushing. He became a force. He himself wrecked the NFC title. He was the MVP in the NFC title game. I mean, third down sacks led the league, tackles for loss. He was a freaking force on a very good defense. When he's on a bad defense, he's Casper the Ghost, man. That's $15 million. Again, you pay for great players. You do. You don't want to give a guy like that up. But when you don't have 10 other guys that can stop the run or stop a pass, what's the point? Yeah, you have to have salary integrity on your side of this whole thing is so backwards money-wise. You know, as great as Roseman is, he is absolutely fabulous at putting deals together. You know what he's not? At keeping salary cap integrity. It's top heavy. Oh, your money's on the O. You know why all the money's on the O? Because those are guys that you've extended and given second contracts to. What guy on that defense has he given second contracts to? Let's take a look at that. Fletcher, Brandon Graham, Sweat, and who else? 3 out of 11. 3 out of 11 guys have gotten second contracts on defense. Let's take a look at that on offense. They gave an extension to Malott a couple years back. Dickerson's getting another deal. Kelsey's gotten a couple contracts. Lane's gotten contracts. They just extended Hurts. DeVonta's going to get another contract. Goddard got another contract. 7 of your 11 starters have gotten 2 or more contracts or will get 2 or more contracts. And you got 3 on defense. And the majority of the guys on defense that you gave extensions or new contracts to are in their 30s or mid-30s. Or you got a guy approaching 30. You have no young players on your defense. None. Shit, Jordan Davis, is he getting a second contract? I don't know. This is where the missing on the draft picks has now kind of put you in a place where you got to go like this on DeVonta Smith. Back to this. On May 2nd, you got to determine, am I going to pick up the 5th-year option, which means he makes $15 million for the 25 season. Okay? That gives you a little bit more time. Are you going to do that to him? Or are you going to extend him? Or are you going to wait? You can't wait because then get this. 24, he's a free agent. Smitty's got some leverage here. If you don't extend him at the end of 24, I believe he's a free agent if you don't pick up the 25 extension or the 5th-year option. He'll be a free agent next year. So you got to determine what you're going to do here. You got a couple weeks to figure out by May 2nd what you're going to do with him. Because he's a priority. That's a priority. You know, I started looking at some of the options and the extensions and 5th-year options. And I said, wow, Smith has them by the short hairs a little bit here. Okay? He's got them by the short hairs a little. I really went back and forth because there's so much money that has to be negotiated. And you don't have, you know how people were saying, and not to say anything on Tone or anybody, but a lot of people think this. Well, it's the offseason. We have some time here. You really don't. You really don't have time. Do you trade AJ again? This is why when I brought up the trading of AJ Brown and it picked some steam up, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Here's why. Well, you got Landon coming up. You got to make a decision on DeVonta Smith. You got to do something with those corners contracts. And you got to do something with Reddick. And next year also, Sweat's contract is up, and he's got a market value of $21 million. Who are you paying all this money to? Landon Dickerson is going to command $20 million. Okay? DeVonta's going to command $20 million plus. Who are you paying? Sure got a lot of money on the offense. You got all your money's on off. The more you pay on offense, you guys are going like this. How we will figure it out. So you want to figure out how to spend money to buy 2 wide receivers when you need 2 corners, and you want to spend an excess of $50 million on the perimeter instead of building it on the defensive side of the ball. Cornerbacks are more valuable than wide receivers. Don't kid yourself. A turnover is 10 times more valuable than anything A.J. Brown will do. A.J. Brown had a career year. What did it get you? Rolled in the playoffs. You had 3 turnovers between 2 people that made $25 million combined. The difference in your whole team was on that side of the ball. Team ran out of gas. Renegotiate Hurts. You know what, Neil? I don't know how that works. I'm going to have to ask Lee Steinberg how if they can do restructuring of, because I know they do a lot of that with Mahomes. They redo deals and they go back in and restructure the contract and they give the guy a bag of money. And every time you restructure, remember, you got to give more upfront money if you're going to do it. John says Hurts won't agree on it. Always remember, John, if you come to the table with a bag of money, everyone listens. Okay? Everyone listens. The only way you get people's attention in the NFL, especially agents, you give them an absurd amount of money up front. Here, every team will listen. Here's $75 million. That year that Dak made $75 million, when they gave him the bonus in his first year of his deal, guy made like $90 million or some shit, $70 or $80 million. An agent's going to listen to that. Signing Slay and Bradbury is the reason why Howie's in a bad position with defense. Those are always stupid signings. Senor, I don't believe that signing Bradbury was a stupid move. He had an all-pro type season in 22. I can't sit here on a Monday on February 19th and go, that was a bad deal. Okay? The guy who thought he was out was Slay. Remember? He started putting the smoke signals up. Oh, good, bye and all this. Okay? Hey, and by the way, that's one of the reasons why I watch Sports Take a lot, because these guys have a lot of good topics. And I heard somebody say, do you think that the Eagles would entertain Gardner Johnson? Why not? Bobby Wagner went back to Seattle. That was as ugly as you can get, that exit to Los Angeles. There were so many bad things that were said to John Schneider from Bobby Wagner. That relationship and that conversation between John Schneider, the general manager of the Seahawks, and Bobby Wagner was one of the most epic battles of all time. Guys calling each other names. One guy calling the other guy not a very good accountant, calling him an accountant. Those guys fixed up their relationship, patched it up. He went back to Seattle. Don't let emotions run the way you do business. Okay? Because you may have to walk back over that bridge again. You don't want to torch the bridge. Dude, this is about getting your team better. This is not about emotions and feelings and all that other stupid shit. Guy plays for the Cowboys. So what? Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. You have a problem with that? The Eagles didn't. Why would you? Think about that. The Eagles made a trade with the Cowboys, and they flopped moves to get DeVonta and draft DeVonta. Then they get the offensive coordinator of Kellen Moore, who was the coordinator there forever in Dallas. The only people who have a problem with that shit are the fans. It's dumb. It's dumb. Okay? He was a factor on your team a year ago. Health is a problem. Well, Brian, look at it this way. Health is a problem. Great. I'm not paying you 6.5. Here's 4.5. And you get the player at the price you want instead of 8. You get him at half. And he only played 3 games this year. You get a guy who's going to come back healthier. You're going to get a guy at a cheaper price. And he's better than anything you got back there. Look at the glass half full. He's cheaper. You're not paying $8 million for it. How he walks into him and goes, I'll tell you what. We said some shitty things, both of us. You want to try to iron this out or no? And if the player goes, yeah, okay, this is what we're planning on doing. We want you to come back. I think you and Vic could have a really great time of it being here on this defense. However, $4 million, 4.5 with incentives that could probably get you up to 5.5, 6 with incentives, not 6 base. And you bring the player back. You tell me if you wouldn't do this. You sign Gardner Johnson. You trade AJ to Denver. Or how about this one? You know, everybody's going to sleep on this Jalen Johnson kid. You know, tomorrow, the Bears have to figure out if they're going to tag him. It's franchise tag day tomorrow. And if that kid's not tagged at 24, if I'm Howie Roseman, I'm on the horn with his agent immediately. Immediately. Okay? He is the second best corner. He's in the top 3 or 4 corners in the league. Snead's not going to be available. I believe they tag him tomorrow. They're not going to tag Jones. I don't believe they're going to tag Chris Jones tomorrow. Because I don't think there's going to be a boatload of teams that are going to tag or that are going to offer $31 million to Chris Jones next year. Okay? Who's paying that? What team has the money to pay that? The Texans? Okay. They have the money. The Commanders? Okay. They have the money. All the good teams don't. Niners, Eagles really don't. Cowboys surely don't. They're $14 million in the hole. Okay? What good team? The Buffalo Bills? They're $44 million in the hole. I mean, you got to look at it. If Chris Jones gets signed, he's getting signed by a shitty team with a lot of dough. He's not getting signed by a contender. Josh Allen down in Jacksonville. Okay, Josh Allen in Jacksonville, they're probably going to franchise tag him. I would. Eagles aren't going to franchise, they're not going to franchise tag DeAndre Swift. It's just too pricey. They're not doing that. And by the way, don't be offended by that because I don't think the Giants are going to franchise tag Saquon Barkley either. The Raiders aren't going to franchise tag Josh Jacobs. You're not going to see any running back franchise. You might see Tony Pollard, But no, because the Cowboys are 14 million in the hole. And they got decisions to make when it comes to CD and Michael Parsons and Zach Martin and Tyron Smith. You got a lot of these teams this week is going to tell us a lot directionally on which teams are going to take steps forward or backwards. Here, I think how many people think the Eagles right now getting into tag day tomorrow are in a good place? Money-wise. Shit, you're not even talking personnel yet. Get this. You've got to move money. And you got to move some money off your offense. This is the problem. That's why, look, Tone and I say this all the time. A.J. Brown's a great ball player, but you've got to start moving money back over on that side of the ball if you want to be competitive. You're not competitive on defense. You are not competitive. So you've got to slide some money over there. This is a cap league. It's not just about signing and having the best player, having the best players on your team. The NFL has a salary cap for a reason. Why is that? They love the word parity or mediocrity. I don't know. I think they're the same. Trade Dickerson, save $20 million. I'm not trading Landon Dickerson. What are you, psycho? I'm trading A.J. Brown. You don't build a championship team from the perimeter in. You build a championship team from the inside out. That's how you've gotten to 2 Super Bowls. Not because of your wideouts, but because of your lines. Dude, drafting a D lineman and an O lineman on a draft for a city like Philly sucks. Okay, because it's not flashy and fancy, and it's not it's not fantasy football driven. But you don't build Super Bowls that way. You build them with great lines. You got a $50 million quarterback. You can't have a $2 O-line. So you want to trade Dickerson. That would mean this: if Kelsey retires, you would be weak in the middle on a football team that struggled with the blitz, with a new coordinator coming in and a quarterback that has to learn how to watch the blitz and learn how to avoid the blitz. I don't know. Why are you hurting him? If they cut Bard, they save $13 million. They're going to. They're going to. To me personally, you cut Bard and somehow you've got to move Bradbury and you draft a corner or you sign a corner like the kid Johnson in Chicago. He's 24 years old. You could have that guy play. Hey, him and Slay sounds great. In a Vic Fangio defense, you take that $13 million, cut it in half, give some of the dough to Gardner Johnson, bring his ass back. Gardner Johnson, Slay, and Jalen Johnson from Chicago at your corner. I don't know. That sounds pretty good to me. Then you can work at your linebackers. You've got to move money. And see, DeVonta, this decision here, if they extend him now, what does that mean? Okay, they're going to have to pay money, and they're going to pay him $20 million now. Now, maybe you pay him 20 because the cap hits aren't that devastating because it hurts, and you take advantage of that by signing him. But you can't do all your money work on offense. You've got to address that side of the ball. Anything you do going forward, we were talking about this. Everything you do has to have ramifications on Hurts. Addressing DeVonta Smith has nothing really to do with Hurts. Addressing the defense has everything to do with Hurts. Follow me here. That's how Kansas City won the Super Bowl. That's why Kansas City's going to win it again. is because they've opened that window up even further because the defense is getting better. Now they're going to have some issues to deal with. Snead, in my opinion, they're probably going to put the tag on him tomorrow, and they're going to let Chris Jones walk. Or they'll try to negotiate. I think they've got like $24 million in cap space, and now with the cap being at 243 instead of 239, 240, probably have a little extra cash, but he's going to command 30. And here, I get it when people say Sileo's insane, wanting to get rid of A.J. Brown. I don't want to get rid of him. That's not, maybe I needed it to land there. Maybe I needed it to land. I don't want to get rid of him. You think the Cowboys wanted to get rid of Amari Cooper? You think they wanted to get rid of Ezekiel Elliott? They may have a little. But those are Jerry's guys. He doesn't like to get rid of any of them guys. This is not, you think Kansas City wants to get rid of Chris Jones? No. Okay? That's how the Chiefs are winning. DRC, two things, cap integrity and Mahomes. Right. It's the Brady formula. It's totally the Brady formula. Hey, man, they don't have really anybody on the team because they got the guy. They're the only team in the league that has the guy. Until someone shows us, until further notice, you guys are paying for hope. Kansas City has reality. You understand that? All these $50 million deals, like my good friend Tone says, it's potential. The guy in Kansas City, you don't hear that word thrown around any longer. Potential. That thing's 5 years old now. No way. They paid it and they got it. And everybody wants to take credit for it. Well, nobody in that building right now can take credit for Patrick Mahomes. That's John Dorsey's guy. Everybody's now taking credit because they fired the guy. Okay, fine. Same shit in Philly. Oh, Jalen Hurts. Really? Okay. Wouldn't shock me if Dorsey had something to do with that too. Why wouldn't it? Everywhere he goes, he brings in massive talent. They need somebody in Philly like him. But see, he's bossy. He's pushy. He hates the analytics people, especially when it comes to evaluating college scouting. Alonzo Highsmith worked for him. Said, John's tough. He thinks the analytic guys are stupid. Highsmith's now up in New England. And I had a conversation about John Dorsey. And I had a conversation about how he built that Cleveland team up. He goes, man, I'm going to tell you, the owner, Jimmy Haslam, boy, did he. I mean, some of those meetings were just off the charts hollering. He was setting his way on how to bring this guy in, that guy in. He's the guy that drafted the tight end out of Miami. He's the guy that put that O-line together. He's the guy that put that defense together. I mean, I don't think there's any coincidence that they brought Andrew Berry in, too, right after him. Another Philly guy who worked with Dorsey. Just better bedside manner. Okay? The best hire the Chiefs made was Steve Spagnuolo. I think Andy, you know what? I love Angelo. You guys know I do, but I don't know. I think Andy Reid has also been instrumental in that kid's development too. I think Andy's a better coach today than he was in Philly, and I think he's a different dude. But Spagnuolo clearly 4 Super Bowl wins. I mean, that guy's beaten Brady in a Super Bowl with Eli. That undefeated, I think he beat the undefeated team, if I'm not mistaken. So, John, if I'm the Minnesota Vikings tomorrow, I offer Kirk Cousins a contract and have him come back. He was on his way to having a career year. He was blowing the league away before he got injured. Where are you going? You're going to pay Justin Jefferson $30 million, right? And you're going to bring a rookie in for him? One of these Drake May guys? Good luck. Set your franchise back 4 years. I don't think there's a quarterback in this draft worth of shit. But there'll be 4 guys drafted in the first round. You wait and see. Hey, quite frankly, I just don't see it. Hey, did CJ Stroud shock me? Absolutely. Did Bryce Young? No. I thought he was a shwimp. I thought he was you know who he reminded me of? Charlie Ward. Phenomenal college football player. Just great. Charlie Ward was like, what was he? In the 2 years he started there, 24-1, national title. But he was too small. Then he turned around and had a 13 years, something like that, NBA career. But he's smaller. Okay? Bo Nix, the elder statesman. So we get this when you draft Bo Nix. Was he 24, 25? So you draft him in 3 years, he's 28. By the time he gets to his second contract, he's 30. And you're starting the process of evaluating what you're gonna do or not. How did the Chris Winkie thing work out when Chris Winkie played all them years of basketball or baseball it was? Then he went to Florida State and he was like 26 when he got drafted or some shit. Guy won the Heisman. Had a very mediocre NFL career. Because when you look at Bo Nix, that's who Bo Nix is. He's got no ceiling. That's what that guy is. Whatever you think of him, he ain't getting better. Okay? There's no development. When you draft a 21-year-old or you draft a 20-year-old kid and you get somebody like Mahomes who's young, you have room to develop and grow. Bigger, stronger. That kid's a man already. Bo Nix, good luck. Dude, seriously, the guy, instead of getting your NFL Players Association card, that guy should be getting his AARP card by the time he gets his second contract going. I don't know, man. Okay? I don't know. So again, I haven't really answered the question. The Eagles by May 2nd have to decide what to do with DeVonta Smith. Pick up the 5th year or extend him. What do you do? What's the priority list? It's got to be Reddick. Before May 2nd, I have to have a decision on what I'm going to do with Bradbury and Reddick. I've got to decide what I'm going to do. Because what I do is going to directly impact the defense and what I can do in free agency. And Howie is not good in the draft at positions of need. You know, Tone said something earlier. Isn't it funny? Both sides of the football, the Eagles are very weak in the middle of your team. Hurts can't throw across the middle of the field, and in the middle of your defense, it's weak. I mean, good teams beat you this way. All the great tough teams, quarterbacks throw across the middle of the field, and you got great linebacker play. Did we not see that? Even the Lions, who don't have the best secondary, their linebackers were making plays in the divisional game. Just saying, guys. Merrill Reese is going to join us at 4:30. Okay? Sills, notice that the coaches leave Philly, they become great. Yeah, because KJ, that's because the coaches get to expand more with what their program should look like instead of being under the thumb of management. Jonathan Gannon coached circles around the coaching staff of the Eagles last year. Just coach circles around them. Shane Steichen had a winning team in Indianapolis with Jim Irsay. I mean, the Jaguars had 2 winning seasons back to back. Traditionally, the Jaguars are picking in the top 3 every year of the draft. I mean, it's not the players that Howie keeps, it's the players that Howie lets go. No, man, it's the shit he misses. The corners and the linebackers. Okay? The corners and the linebackers and the wideouts you flop on. Edge rushers too. Dude, okay, some will go like this. Well, he landed on Sweat. Yeah, but how about the numerous ones that he's just devoured the draft in or regurgitated some of these picks? His cornerback selection and how his analytics guys that pick on the talent. This Keely Ringo, you really think he's good? I haven't seen him yet where I went, oh, yeah, I kind of see some things. But there's no wow factor with him. Sidney Brown needs to have it slow up a bit. You might want to smoke a joint, kid. Calm yourself down. You're too amped up. Eat a mushroom. Go to one of those Aaron Rodgers mushroom tents. Calm yourself down, kid. Wrap up too. Learn how to wrap up and put a kid on the ground. You know what I'm saying? So there's something there because he's a hitter. The guy needs to smoke a joint or something. Or get on the hookah. Calm yourself, son. He looks, there's something there. All these players that they've drafted the last couple of years, I think Cam Jurgens is a good ball player. Is he Isaac Seumalo? Absolutely not. I think the kid Steen, I think he's a little light. Like Barrett and I say, he's a little light on his feet. I like to see him be a little bit more stout. Not a bad ball player. I'm not saying they're bad. The Davis kid, he's exactly who I thought he is. He's a tree stump. Unfortunately, with talent. Because he doesn't use it to the maximum. That's a terrible thing to say about a player. This guy does not play up to his ability. And so when I say that about him, those are facts. Watch this. You think Jordan Davis is you think Jordan Davis has played up to his ability? I don't know. I don't think so. Carter, I got great hopes for. Jacoby Dean has been a bust in Philly so far. Why don't you say it? Well, I really don't know. Well, Jesus criminy, guys. We're now going on the 3rd year. And you haven't seen anything redeeming yet? Stop giving people the benefit of the doubt when they haven't given you a reason to give them the benefit of the doubt. I love how people just make shit up just to fit a narrative so that they can go, this is a telltale year for him. Telltale year? I mean, he hasn't shown you one redeeming thing that would make you think he could turn this thing around. Health-wise or ability-wise. Dean has to stay healthy. That's part of it. I mean, we'll see. If Dean, watch this. You know what's going to be crazy? Let's just put this out here. If Dean plays decent this coming year, people are going to go, see, Sills? Aren't you doing the same thing Chris Sims does to Jalen Hurts? That you'll be doing to me? See? To be a great NFL ball player, you've got to put seasons together where people look at you and go, man, I know what I'm getting with this guy every single time he steps on a football field. When that guy steps on the field, Like here, let me give you this with Parsons. Let me give you this with Parsons here. Parsons, when I see Micah Parsons step on the field, here's what I see in his game. He's a complete player in many aspects of the passing game. He can rush. He can cover. He's a good tackler. How about in the run game? Suspect. I think he's light on his feet. I think he gets knocked off his feet. And I think he gets worn down by the end of the year with all the chip blocks that tight ends and tackles do on him. You know why he's a non-factor in the second half of the season? Because they don't move him around enough. I think what Dan Quinn started doing with Micah Parsons, it wasn't so much that they were looking for the weak link on the offensive line with Parsons. I think they were lining him up against the weakest guy on the team to give him a break so he's not getting chipped out there out wide. Look what it did to Josh Sweat when you didn't get any production out of Brandon Graham this year. Josh Sweat took a beating this year because Brandon Graham sucked. Okay, and they had no help from Nolan Smith or anybody out there, Derek Burnett early. They had no help for him. He was a one-man end. The year before, you had two guys with double-digit sacks, and you had a guy on the outside with 16. Think about what Sweat had in 22. He had 27 sacks lining up on the other side, and Sweat had a double-digit year too. Why? Well, who are you chipping? Are you chipping Reddick? Man, you got to keep an eye on Graham now. And this guy over here had more single one-on-ones. Well, when those guys became a non-factor, everybody started chipping Josh Sweat. You wear people out. Graham didn't suck. Graham was non-productive. You know, he sucked. He gave you nothing. Nothing. The roster spot is needed. He's not worthy of being on a rebuild defense. Like, there's no reason to bring him back. You know, that's the one thing, again, that I love what New England did. It didn't matter what your name was on the back of the jersey. They made the tough cuts. They moved out from players when they still had something in the tank left. The Eagles wait until they have one little bit of gas left. Okay, at his age, that's not a reason to say that a guy was productive because he's an older player. That's not the tie-in I want. I want younger and cheaper and better. That's what I want. Not older, less productive, and good for his age. That's a free seat at the dinner table. Not happening. Got to make some tough decisions here. All right. We come back. We're going to talk with our friend Tone. Don't forget Merrill Reese at 4:30. And we're going to go over. I really do want to hear what Tone thinks about this May 2nd decision that the Eagles have to make on DeVonta Smith. Do you pick the fifth-year option up? Or do you extend him now? We'll hit on that. We'll talk a little bit about what Sims said. I'm not going to defend Sims. I think he just went about it the wrong way. He's not totally wrong. Did he clickbait it? Yes. Was he looking for the Philly response? Of course. We all know that. You guys are going to blow up like Bill's Mafia does. I get it. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.